streaming episode of the Gaming Kitchen. Pitchers and catchers report tomorrow. I am confused when Mardi Gras is. I am confused on when Valentine's Day is. I think it's the 14th. Happy holidays to both people who celebrate that. So today, this was a stream I was trying to do last night, but I fell asleep. And, I don't honestly care about YouTube that much to set up stuff. I'll probably delete it and have it to be this one. But I have been trying to find time since New Year's Day to get on here and do whatever I needed to do and say what I needed to say. So pardon me for that, but I have been extremely busy with work, finding new, better opportunities, career opportunities and stuff. I do photos. I do all that type of stuff. The NFL playoffs came through Baltimore, and unfortunately the Ravens didn't win. They lost in the AFC Championship game, a game I was at. Super Bowl's over with now and all that stuff. So the title of this stream won't be a long one. It's called the KdjTV rebuttal. This is a YouTuber, 2.23 thousand subscribers. He gives a very good, articulate discussion of MLB The Show. He talks about his passions. He talks about his baseball games and his background and what he's interested in and such. So, I put his name in this discussion thing because, this isn't a go after, get after thing. But one thing in which I was trying to gather was a segment in which he was talking about a wish list in regards to ballpark building, stadium building. One thing you got to understand about MLB The Show is that MLB The Show, much like Madden and much like any other sports games, they have separate communities. Communities that are broken down into franchise, road to the show, stadium creator, logo creator, ultimate teams. If it's not ultimate teams, what is it called? Diamond Dynasty. So there's a little bit of everything for everyone, and very few and far in between you have people who merge between the two. You have a community that creates rosters their whole entire season. You have people now who create stadiums their whole entire season, and you have people who play Diamond Dynasty their whole entire season. And sometimes people cross the plane if they have time for that, and they, do whatever they need to do to explore and get what they need to get done. But today, my rebuttal, if you want to call it that, goes into what was said at the 142 mark when he was talking about ballparks.
James. There you go. I said it. It might be because, all right, as you can see on my screen, we have Stadium Creator up. So you could probably deduce that we're about to talk about that. I will put 10 minutes on the clock, which I have forgotten to do here, so I must now do it live on television. Or YouTube, same thing. You might be watching it on your TV. Shout out to you. And here we go. I got it ready. So 3, 2, 1, we shall begin. The first question comes from Finley, who asked a great question last week as well, so we're just going to double up on him. I have another one. What would you like to see change about the Stadium Creator? So if you guys have been familiar with me and my content and my thoughts and my channel and my podcast for a long time, you'll know this already. But I despise custom stadiums. There you go. I said it. It might be because it makes the game lag an uncontrollable amount. It opens the door for children and weirdos to make weird innuendos in the outfield or use the letter block thingies to write really offensive, weird stuff. It might also be because you queue into a game, wanting to just play a nice casual game, and you're suddenly at a max elevation, 200-foot down the line stadium that doesn't actually have anything to do with skill. You know? I don't care for Stadium Creator in its current form. I think Stadium Creator needs to have more strict guidelines as to what is allowed online versus offline. I think Stadium Creator for an offline game, you can be able to make any stadium you want and use it in any offline mode you want. But as soon as we're talking bringing it to online, which in theory is competitive, even if you do not have the goal of being competitive yourself, the second you make it a head-to-head thing, definition-wise, it is a competitive setting. So once you bring it into online, I think we need to be a lot more strict with what's going on. My second thought on Stadium Creator, because I did just finish playing a VR run. I got flawless number 20, by the way. Claps for me. Shiny new icon incoming. I think a way to eliminate a lot of the frustrating created stadiums that you might see in Battle Royale, and I've talked about this before, and me and friends of mine have talked about this before, and this is not 100% my idea. I've helped groom it, but I did not create it myself, is that I think Battle Royale should have 3 or 4 distinct created stadiums created by SCS that are fair stadiums and cool stadiums and fun stadiums that you play in depending on which game your run is in. If you're the home team and you're playing in games 1 to 3 or wins 1 to 3, you're at this stadium. 4 to 6, this one. 7 to 9, this one. 10 to 12, some sort of cool World Series championship stadium. I think there is a place for custom, unique stadiums that are not MLB parks and that are not minor league stadiums, though I love Ship It and will forever love Ship It. I think that would add some fun to MLB The Show 24 and beyond. But in its current form, I'm just not a fan of Stadium Creator. Also, maybe because I haven't dived into it myself an incredible amount, because I don't care to do it. When Stadium Creator first dropped, last year, the year before, I can't remember, sorry, it was so clunky, and it's still kind of clunky, and building a cool stadium is so hard. If you're one of the people who makes created stadiums for others, I believe Tater Tot makes them, Captain Tater Tot, I think Clutch Silver used to make a bunch. There are certainly others, and I'm not meaning to exclude you. If I have excluded you, I'm sorry. Those are just 2 I know off the top of the head. But it is a legit creative work of art to make some of these custom stadiums that these people make. They have skill. I don't have that skill. I would venture to say a lot of people don't have that skill. So let's just make Stadium Creator a little more accessible, make it easier. I want more templates. I know they have templates already. I'd like more templates. It's not a game mode. I'm just calling it a game mode here. It is not a game mode that draws me in because I don't see a payoff other than stress.
So I got to stop it there at the 5-minute mark to at least give a little bit of feedback to what he said. He said a lot of stuff I agree with. I think the whole concept of Stadium Builder, Stadium Creator, and the concept of keeping it separate from Diamond Dynasty or modifying it for Diamond Dynasty or hold it to a certain regulation, if you must, in order to keep it structured so you're not playing at any racist, homophobic, anti-Semitic, any type of things, I tend to agree with. I think the Stadium Builder needs to be more regulated. I think it needs to be more structured. And one of the things in which I found, in which I've been preaching from the jump, in which I agree with him, is very simple. I agree. I think that Stadium Builder should be its own mode, and I think it should be away from Diamond Dynasty. And I wish it was. And the reason why I wish it was is because most of the limitations that we have in this mode is because they built it around that Diamond Dynasty mode. That everything has to be regulated in order to have online. Everything has to be regulated in order to have a batter's eye. And ballparks that didn't have it, we can't move the the pitching. We can't move the bullpen. We can't customize anything. I agree with him with the fact that stuff is clunky. I also agree with him on the fact that this is a mode that's very difficult to get in. What I don't agree with is making something simple or quote unquote simplifying it down in order for people to become easily accessible in. In my honest opinion, this mode is as easily accessible as you can possibly get. The problem is not with easily accessible things in this mode. The problem is the lack of innovation in this mode. Okay? Now, I'll talk about a game that has nothing to do with this a long time ago that was made easily accessible for people, for kids and everything, and that was Star Wars Battlefront. And you had flight modes, and you had controls, you had all this stuff that was structured around 10-year-olds and 5-year-olds who wanted to pick up and play the game, and you're sitting up here, 20s and teens and 30s, trying to play this thing, and you're saying, why is it moving like I'm picking up like an action figure and a spaceship and flying it around? That's the last thing you need for a game. If you want to do that, fine. You can pick simplistic mode, or you can pick professional mode or something like that. Okay, that's where I'll meet him halfway on his rebuttal to this. I think this mode is a great mode. I think this mode was a good mode, but we have to understand that this mode was made, and including people in his community as well. I think people need to understand the purpose of this stadium building mode. They won't tell you, but the main reason why this mode was created the way it was and was structured the way it was from MLB 21 to now is very simple. It's because they don't have licenses for most of the stadiums to put in this game. So the cheap and easy way to do it is to get you to build the ballpark that you always wanted to build and put it in here for yourself. So if you wanted to do Ebbets Field, you could make Ebbets Field. Good luck. If you wanted to make Memorial Stadium, you can make Memorial Stadium. Good luck to you. You want to make the Astrodome? Good luck to you. The only problem I have with this mode is not that it's easily accessible or it's made difficult or anything like that. This mode is made for people who want to have the time to build it. If you do not have the time to build this thing, odds are you don't care to build a ballpark. This is a mode that's made in a casual game, which is where a lot of sports games are going now. A lot of sports games are going towards the casual fan. That's why Madden has never changed the way it's changed, because in order for them to get to, other than the obvious facts, but in order for them to expand themselves to a further and broadening audience, you have to, hate to say it, dumb the game down. You have to get a game where people are going to pick up and it's going to be easily accessible. So all the details and all the quirks and all the stuff that are in the deep cuts, you're not going to be capable of doing. The hardcore fans who want to build ballparks and want to build classic ballparks and want to have everything to their disposal is thrown away to the wayside, because guess what? You're in a generation of people who want things that are fast, easily, and easily accessible. But you run into a problem with that. You run into a problem where you get a mode like this that is clunky. You run into a mode like this that is inaccessible to other people. The problem with this mode is the glitches. The problem with this mode is that it's often neglected by the people who make this game. You know, you shouldn't have an issue where if you program this stadium and you can put a facade on a ballpark that's in the stadium, you should be able to do that in this game as well if you're creating it. I shouldn't be at 91% when I'm trying to finish the outline of a ballpark. They don't know what they want. And so by putting a mode together like this, they should have been progressing the mode and making the mode easily accessible in order for people to casually go in and create their Diamond Dynasty hullabaloo, because that's what it's all about, and then leave a mode for us to do who really care about the ballparks. Now, he said one of his biggest problems is that he doesn't really care to get into an online mode where you're dealing with high altitudes and stuff like that. I tend to agree. I may be in the minority here, but I'm all for segregating this mode away from Diamond Dynasty. Because let's be honest, that's where this game is heading to anyways, Diamond Dynasty. Most people who play Diamond Dynasty don't care about creating stadiums. Just like how most people in Diamond Dynasty don't care about custom rosters. Just like how most people play Diamond Dynasty don't care about franchise or road to the show. That's just it. That's why you see those modes get neglected every single year. But guess what mode that gets all the attention? Diamond Dynasty. Now, if you're in the stadium creating business, if you're in the roster business, if you're in the type of business where you focus on creating realistic rosters and sliders and stuff, you don't care about Diamond Dynasty. I care, and I'll be really honest and candid right now, I care about building ballparks for Diamond Dynasty because that's where I know the popularity is at. I know that a vast majority of people who play this game for the cards. If you pre-order MLB The Show 24, guess what you're going to get? Early access to this type of card, that type of card, this superstar card, this ritual card, all this type of stuff. They don't talk about early access to ballparks. They don't talk about grabbing the legendary mode and getting historical ballparks and stuff like that. Those types of fandoms get neglected. They get neglected. And I will say also the reason why this mode gets neglected is because of the vast majority of people who think like the way he thinks in saying that I don't really care for the mode. I think the mode is great for those who want to participate in it, but it's more so of a subculture mode. It's a niche mode. It's not a mode in which, like, if a kid downloads it, they want to build a ballpark. You know, it already has the stigma, unfortunately, which I have to say I don't fault him for thinking like this. But he started off saying that this mode is for people. This mode is often created by weirdos and kids who make all this obscene and all this type of stuff. And this is where it's very important, and I have said this for years and years and years, building these ballparks on this thing, that the people who actually take this mode seriously and the people who actually stand up and try to build stuff for people, for fans, who wish to see Ebbets Field when SDS fails to do so, who wish to build Memorial Stadium when SDS fails to do so, when they wish to build ballparks that they have asked for years upon decades in wish lists that SDS has failed to create and care to do so because they need a license or can't afford it or whatever reason, there have been people who stood up and stepped up for this stuff. But unfortunately, like he said, most of the people who get attention are the weirdos and the kids who take this mode and have abused this mode and have taken this mode and taken away every single ounce of creativity and every single ounce of spectacle that would be with this mode. But I will also say, to be devil's advocate, it sucks that like this mode gets neglected by people, and seeing that there are talented and creative people out here, creative people who have taken it upon themselves since 2021 to build this thing up to where it is. And unfortunately, it has gotten to the point where this mode has been made so frustrating by its lack of innovation, and it has been made so just unoriginal by its lack of change, other than adding night mode to it, that you last year had a whole error glitch where you couldn't even build your ballpark past a certain percentage rate, or else it turns into a generic ballpark. Where we're working now on this ballpark is basically working around where if your stuff turns generic, you know the daisy chain to get everything back. And we're now on a different development cycle now. We're off MLB Show 23. We're on the 24. And by the looks of it, they're going to now incorporate you importing your stadiums that you worked on or ballparks that you worked on this year into next year. And that's great and everything, but you know what that really tells me? That tells me they did nothing to innovate the mode. They did nothing to change the mode. What about slopes? What about longitude? What about latitude? What about, the plane that you're building your ballpark on? What about the ability to select something below sea level or above sea level, or slopes or roads or something? It's a mode that's heavily neglected. And if you have a streamer such as this man right here, who identifies this mode as being like that, what do you think other people who play this game think of this as? And that explains why you don't get innovation in this type of stuff. Because all what people do is they look at this thing, they say, oh, it's a crappy mode. It's for artsy people who know how to build something, But most of the people who build it are people who like to post N-words on stuff and be racist or sexist or misogynistic or homophobic or anti-Semitic. And they post the stuff up just like they do with Logo Creator, and they just let it rip. And so it becomes one of those modes that attracts a stigma to it, that it's just for weirdos and kids. So it's not his fault per se for labeling it that. That's the reality that he sees. But the people such as myself, the people who have tried to build ballparks back in the past, who either gave it up or got too busy for it and stuff like that, they try to make this mode legitimate. They tried to give this mode some legitimacy to it in order to appease people who wanted to see ballparks that will never probably ever be created by the professionals in this game. So yes, it does take a certain amount of skill. It does take a certain amount of research. It does take a certain amount of stuff that a specific person such as himself is not interested in. I don't fault him. I mean, I'm not interested in Diamond Dynasty. But the difference between me not being interested in Diamond Dynasty and him not being interested in this mode is that SDS will pay attention to what he talks about in regards to Diamond Dynasty or what anybody else will say, because guess what? That's the mode that gives them the most money. When I sit up here and I speak from the mountaintop as to what needs to be fixed, as long as other people as well on Reddit forums and even the exact forum itself, guess what? Falls on deaf ears. So instead of you getting a bullpen that needs to be created, guess what you get in regards to that? You get some Godzilla creature or something. You get new trees, but they're all weird and they're like some fantasy world. It's very obvious as to like what direction they want this stuff given towards. And if you're not alone that, then guess what? You're going to be left behind. So I'm going to continue the rest of his response to this and see what else he has to say.
And that is not a bad. So making it more accessible is something I'd like to see to make it better if it's going to stick around. Someone at SDS is not going to like this answer because it requires a ton of work. I think every single created stadium needs to go through a review process. Not for cheese and elevation and stuff like that, but like some of the things I read at these created stadiums is a bit ridiculous. Does it impact my life? Not necessarily, but it could impact someone's. So I think every single stadium should go through a review process. And I'm sorry, SDS, if that makes you do more work. I'm not saying you guys are lazy, I just know how much work that would be. But that's where I stand on Stadium Creator. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. I know I'm in the minority here, probably, that I don't like Stadium Creator and think created stadiums are silly. I don't mean to be the fun police, but that's kind of just where I'm at. The next question comes from Original Dro.
So that's the rest of it. The YouTube creator is KdjTV. Go ahead, check him out, give him a subscription. Not like I need to tell you. I mean, he's got more subscriptions than me. I mean, I'm barely ever on here or give a crap about this thing, but in all honesty, the reason why that stood out to me when I first saw it was because this is the stigma that I have been trying to tell you guys about for a long time on here. This is what people think about this mode. And when you have a content creator who has as many subscribers as he does, it's alarming to think that. But that's the reality. That's the reality he sees. It's a stigma. For his rebuttal, the review process, I can make the same argument about the review process for Logo Creator. Like, you know how many offensive and obscene things that are on Logo Creator that SDS doesn't pay attention towards? Now, they have a review system where, like, you can submit stuff and report, but, I mean, has anybody ever seen any punishments, any judgments that's come from that? Probably not. You're too busy to focus on your stuff. But when I sit up here and I tell you this is why this mode does not get the attention that it gets, and I'm not faulting him. He has his opinion. He's tied to his opinion. His opinion is his reality. But my rebuttal to him is, like, if you want them to review this stuff and you understand how much time goes into it, just as much as I do and everybody else who creates this game does or participates in this mode, you'll understand one simple thing. They don't even review this mode for the glitches and the errors that occur in it. Now, when people were trying to make domes and stuff out of this mode, they patched that up real quick. They had a solution patch for that. They did not have a patch for this game mode glitching the way it does and reverting back to its created ballparks and such. So that's where you're at. Like, it's frustrating as a ballpark creator and as a person who loves this mode, because this is a mode that honestly has a lot of potential to be a great mode, to be revolutionary, especially on a next-gen console, such as the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox One, or where we're at currently. But to have a game come out in its fourth iteration, in its third year, still have a stadium mode, which, by the way, I mean, and I'm not trying to be negative, I don't think anything's going to change. He wants reviews to be done for these ballparks, and I understand the reason why, because of all the mean, hurtful, and racist things that's been said in this stuff. But the problem is, those types of people create these things and put them on YouTube. And you'll see the videos, there are all these creators, goofy faces on them, making these outlandish, stupid ballparks because they have no talent to build anything. And so the only thing they can do to get likes, clicks, and subscriptions and money is post controversial things. But there was a time where the people who were taking over this mode posted stuff that was of created ballparks that were legitimate, that were of historical ballpark past, the Negro Leagues, old vintage MLB ballparks, the cookie cutters, and all those types of things. And those ballpark creators have since disappeared. And the reason why they disappeared is because there was no purpose or no need to continue trying to build a ballpark in a game mode that was not supported by SDS, that have been, for all intents and purposes, just slapped together and thrown in a game, where its only improvements was a night mode to adjust to its stuff. That's just the reality. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But that's just the reality. So you have an example of a YouTube creator who makes wonderful content, by the way. I've seen all this stuff and everything. But his point of view is shared with a lot of people who watch this game. They don't care for this mode. And so, like, some of his suggestions were good. Make it a little bit easier, make it a little bit more accessible. But see, the problem is, and again, my rebuttal to him is this: they did make it that way. That's why you have very few options to choose from. That's why your upper decks are generic. That's why you can't have the ability to put a bullpen in. That's why you don't have the ability to push the ladder and push the envelope forward when you're in this mode, because they've already made it easily and accessible. They didn't want you to build ballparks like this. They don't want you to impress that you can pull it off, but they've made this mode so bare bone and so glitched up and so non-fixed that if you are capable of pulling off something like Candlestick Park or your Memorial Stadium or your Yankee Stadium or stuff like that, holy crap, you're a genius. The bottom line that I will end this discussion section with, before I move on and try to finish this ballpark before I go to the gym, is that this mode has a stigma on it. This is what I gather from this man's evaluation of this mode and why his disdain for it. This mode has a stigma on it. And I am all for taking this mode away from Diamond Dynasty. I'm all for it. This past season, I have put more emphasis on creating ballparks that were true and authentic to its design than sitting up here creating a Diamond Dynasty version for it. Because honestly, most people don't care about it. Most people care about cards and baseball cards and Diamond Dynasty and all that type of stuff, because that's the cash cow and that's where it brings money in. So I took the direction that if people don't care about it, I might as well just build what I want to build and how I want to build it. And if this mode doesn't change next year, as in, the way you change behind the plate, the shape of the ballpark and stuff like that, what's the argument of making it easily accessible? The problem isn't the fact that it's not easily accessible. The problem is the fact that it lacks innovation and change. And, only SDS knows the answer to that, because SDS loves to add fluff on this and add things that no one asked for instead of working on the stuff that people ask for them to work on. So that's that. That's my rebuttal. That's my response. It's been festering for quite some time, over a month now. I wanted to think it through and think about the stuff that needed to be addressed in regards to his response and disdain for this mode. I truly believe that modern video games, modern sporting games suffer because of this ultimate team, Diamond Dynasty type of mentality in a sports game. Just like how I knew the games were starting to go down the drain when they were starting to do microtransactions. Because microtransactions is the grandfather or grandmother of this trouble that we have now with games. And so when you look at your Maddens, when you look at your FIFAs, when you look at your MLB The Shows, year in and year out, these people have a short development cycle to where they produce this stuff and they send it out, and it's full of glitches and it's full of problems and it's full of errors that will never be addressed, never be talked to, because you have at least about a good 8 to 9 month development cycle or usage out of this game, because the MLB season starts in March and it ends in November. So you got about 8 months of usage for this game. And so the fun doesn't even come from franchise mode anymore. The fun comes from Ultimate Team or Diamond Dynasty, because that's the generation that's growing up now. And so it's all well and good, but the thing is, all the other modes suffer. All the other things suffer. Franchise mode suffers. Franchise mode lacks innovation. Your road to the shows lack innovation. And you look at a game that came out in the 2000s, it was the direct opposite. The emphasis was on gameplay, secrets, codes, cheats, and they were more fun to play and more in depth. Your unlocks didn't come from buying tokens for the game. Your unlocks came from already in the game. So, as long as you have this type of stuff going on, you're going to have people who are going to have a stigma with this mode, because ultimately you don't have many people to speak out on this stadium mode, the way things are and the way things are built. So, you have a very vocal minority in regards to this mode and what needs to be changed. And you have a vocal majority who really are tired of this mode and hate this mode because of surface level stigmas in which they unfortunately fail to dig deep in. I would implore Mr. KdjTV, if he was interested, which he's probably not, that's fair, I would implore him to dig a little deeper and see that there are people out here who make just some of the best stadiums and stuff. And understand that, like, the people who are weirdos, who are edgy little sixth graders, who like to take this mode over and make it into some of the most heinous stuff, is not a full representative of the community. And I feel like if we would take as much time to build this mode up, just like how people take more time to build up Diamond Dynasty, you wouldn't have the problems that you have in this mode. And so that's my 2 cents on it. Well, folks, this is not the end. It's just the beginning of where this is going to go in regards to Candlestick Park. The scenery's almost done. I got to figure out the geology of the stadium and everything, and then this will be up for upload and stream, and then everything's going to be peachy keen. So, thank you for everybody who stopped by. Thank you for everybody who wanted to discuss and such. You can reach me on TikTok if you want to follow my stuff. And you can always drop by here. Subscription, subscribe. I'll be around to shoot the breeze with anybody if anybody want to talk about anything or anybody want to follow anything. So that's pretty much where everything is going. Catch you guys later.